Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become.
Welcome back to the channel. This week's clip is going to be Steve Jobs giving a commencement address at a university, and it ties in really well to the last clip that we saw that's talking about how your brain is actually a computer that needs to be grown. As usual, once we're done looking at the clip, I'm going to show how it all relates to an expanded understanding of Ohm's law, because it is the belief of the creators of this content that the law of energy is influencing everything, and we are using these clips to show you how.
Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
If you need something to believe in energy law, because everything he is talking about is energy law to the max. And it even ties in directly to the last clip we showed about how your brain is actually hardware that needs to be grown through repetition of use. So let's walk real quick through his process of what he went through. He has a massive resistance in his brain called, I want to create a home computer. So him and Woz start out in their garage building their first system. So if resistance is constant and current increases, potential difference must increase. They have this problem. They want to create a computer. They focus all of their energy until that computer is manifest into reality. Perfect. Energy Law 101. So the second thing they have to do is, now they've got their computer, now they have to build a company. So now the computer exists, and they're still driving more energy towards the next goal, which is building the company, which is the next resistance they need to overcome. So if current is constant and resistance increases, potential difference must increase. And the potential difference must increase in direct proportion to the size of the obstacle, which is the resistance. So they go through the whole process of learning how to build an actual billion-dollar company. That's a massive resistance to overcome. If you think that building the computer was a tough resistance, that's just resistance upon resistance. And tons of pressure. Potential difference also means pressure. So they build this massive company, and he becomes pressurized to all of the responsibility that goes with it, which moves them up to the upper phase. And in the upper phase, if potential is constant and current increases, resistance decreases. Everything's going fine. We've got our computer, we've got our company, and we're selling our product, so there's money coming in, and generally resistance starts going down. But then something happens, and resistance, even though they've established all that potential, starts to increase, which is the lower aspect of the potential phase. If potential difference is constant and resistance increases, current decreases. So all of a sudden, within the company, there is resistance to him as a person and his management style and his goals and objectives, to the point where resistance climbs so high that he is actually fired. And what happens? He drops down from the potential constant reality. He is expelled from his own company, and he drops back down to the resistance constant reality. But something interesting happens, and he notices he has a lot less pressure now, because he's no longer in the highly pressurized potential constant reality. But now if we tie it back into the last video that we watched about how when you're being pressurized, what you're doing is actually growing different gauges of neurons to be able to handle the energy flow and pressure of the circumstance, which is the resistance you're trying to overcome. So what does he do? He races through the whole system again, even faster this time. Why? Because he's already created the mental hardware that is creating a product and running a company and building a company. So his next two companies get built almost instantaneously. He did it twice in a matter of years in what originally took a decade. Because he already had the mental hardware that he had created from doing it the first time. Because every time you're overcoming an obstacle and you're feeling all this pressure, that pressure that you're feeling, and we have traditionally viewed as a psychological response, is actually the physiological creation of a new neural circuitry to run the program that is the new task that you're hoping to do. Fascinating. So he runs through the whole system again, twice as fast this time, with twice the results, because he had already grown the hardware in his brain to do the basic things, like overcoming the challenge of creating your product and overcoming the challenges of navigating the whole building of a company. And then he says this was the most creative period of his life, and getting fired from Apple ended up being the best thing for him. It was the medicine that he needed, because even though he had become pressurized to running that company, what he really needed was a new obstacle and a fresh outlook. Sometimes we get very lost in the roles that we create for ourselves, and as a result, you end up losing yourself in the process. And instead, he found a new him with a different outlook on the entire world. All of the graphics that you've seen are what we call Ohm's Wheels of Life. It is an expanded understanding of Ohm's law that we have created so that we can run these different clips through the system to show you that energy law is influencing every aspect of your life. And if you want to become more successful, you need to learn more about energy law itself, and you need to harmonize with it. If you'd like more information on this, be sure to visit our website, Seniorthinktank.ca. There are lots of resources there for you to process in the form of PDFs and videos. And be sure to like and subscribe the channel. We're uploading videos every week so that you can hopefully slowly become more and more in focus with how important energy law is as the guiding principle behind your life. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to watch next week. We'll see you then.